30 seconds until the start. 30 seconds.
This is here, and then the top right. That's the live stream, and then you just have
15. Race will start with whistle.
Okay, sweet. He'll introduce you. Jim the man, quick and dirty legend.
Come on now. And we are off. Our elite men now taking the course. Stacked field of superstar athletes now out on course. They got 7 laps on tap for them. And joining me in the booth for the first part of this race here is one of our local legends around here, if you will, Raulito Gonzalez. Good to see you, my man. What's going on? Glad to have you here with us.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate you having me here. It's going to be a fun race.
My first question for you, as we watch the leaders start to stretch out here and race up to the first part of the climb, is why are you here in the booth and you're not with the number pinned on? I hear we had a good race going in Fayetteville and we had an unfortunate accident.
Yeah, man. It sucks to be on the sideline for this one. Supposed to be in this race right now, but we're here in the booth. Had a big get off in Arkansas. Thankfully, everything's recovering well.
Good.
Yeah, busted up my face a little bit, but it's all coming along well. It's going to be a fun race to watch right now.
You're a fast healer and a fast racer. This course, you are very familiar with. This park is a backyard for you. You probably cut your teeth here in racing all these trails, yeah?
For sure, yeah. I grew up here in Temecula. I live up in San Luis Obispo now for school, but yeah, this is definitely home. Put all my first hours on the bike here in Vail Lake, so I know this terrain pretty well, and yeah, excited to call some fun racing here.
We've been talking about it a lot as we watch the riders start to string out now, getting in one long straight line. What makes this place so special? What is unique about this Vailocity bike park?
I think it's different, man. It's definitely a SoCal-style track. It's fast, it's flowy. You know, EC and all the crews have been putting out a ton of work. As you can see, these rock gardens, I mean, everything's pretty built up, you know, man-made, but still keeping that SoCal flow. It's, you know, these guys come from BMX, moto. It's all inspired down here in SoCal, so this style of racing's just, it's kind of its own. Yeah.
Now, you know and race against all of these riders, not just the elite. The U23s coming up a race after this. Many of the U23s in this race right now trying to gather some points up for later on in the season like that. Of course, we've got Chris Blevins and Riley Amos in here, two of the most notable ones. Who else should we be looking at to have a good placing here today?
For sure. We got tons of great riders out here. The level in North America right now is at an all-time high. Yeah, like you said, Chris, Riley. We got Devin Fian on the front right now for Dirt Camp Racing. You got Carter Woods in there for Giant Off-Road. Tons of great riders, all international. Yeah, it's going to be a fun race. Some of the U23s, Jack Springer had a great race yesterday in the short track, placing 3rd. He's definitely a guy to watch out for. It looks like Devin's extending the lead a little bit coming into Air Force.
Yeah, he's come out really hard right out of the gate here, now turning around and being up one of the second of the third, probably longer climbs on this course. Everybody out of the saddle and charging really hard. You yourself are a member of one of the strong national and development teams here, came up through the ranks like that. Talk about the importance of those teams. Many of them represented in this race, but also here in the venue as Chris Blevins decides to assert his authority on the front end of this race and goes right over the top of that. Talk about the importance of those development teams and what they give you as a young athlete coming through the system like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's everything, you know, an opportunity. That's pretty much what it is. It's an opportunity to go out there, show what you got. And, I mean, you can start small and everyone starts somewhere here, but honestly, the sport's expensive, and Julia Violich and the Bear National team have given me an opportunity to kind of help myself grow through the ranks and come up from a small Temecula, SoCal race scene up to the national stuff. So these guys a lot of them have come up through development teams as well. I know Riley came up through the Bear National team as well. Chris came through the whole athlete team. So, yeah.
Is there recruiting that goes on among these teams? Is there a way that these teams try to attract these riders early on and then get them to stick with them throughout their U23 career?
For sure. I mean, I know Julia personally super well, and she's always on the lookout for the best next rider. And Yeah, she'll give opportunities. Even I've seen it like through NICA racers, high school racers that are maybe don't have the abilities to go race in the national level, but they have the capabilities. So she'll give opportunities out, and we've seen it. I mean, Riley was a NICA kid. You know, Gwen. They were all racing high school stuff. They had potential, and development teams have been able to do that, bridge that gap for them.
They're letting Chris Blevins get away here with that high cadence. That might be a mistake because, man, once he gets out in front like that, he tends not to look back and let anybody crawl right back over the top of him. So they better keep a close watch on him because he's already starting out on a really furious pace here. And he won the short track yesterday in impressive fashion, and now putting an early stamp on the cross-country race here today.
Yeah, it looks like he's up out of the saddle, making an attack. Looks like he had a bit of a gap there, and then he saw Riley a little bit off the pace, so he turned the screws on. You got Riley jumping on 4th right now, sitting behind Devin Feehan and Carter Woods. What
are you doing up there in San Luis Obispo? You're trying to manage school and racing and keep it all together and still race at a really high level?
Yeah, man. I'm trying to be like Chris Blevins. That's why now I'm playing.
Well, he's a local up there too, right? You guys get to ride and train a lot together?
Not much yet, but yeah, he's up there. He's doing his thing. I go to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, so I've been up there. Beautiful place to train, and I mean, honestly, it's like you can't really ask for anything better. Roads, mountains.
Yeah, it's a beautiful
next
part of
the beach on the mountain. Oh yeah, it's perfect.
Beautiful part of the state for sure.
For sure.
This course, we've been talking about it a lot today. A couple of new features with the over-under. We got the speed and style section and that Violet's power climb, which has been decisive in these early races today. You think the same sort of thing is going to play out here today, where maybe some of the lower places or maybe even the lead might change hands on that power climb?
Yeah, just as we see Riley making that pass for 3rd, he knows that next climb is going to be crucial. Jack's also trying to make a move there. Jack Springer sitting right in 4th. He's trying to squeeze out Devin Feehan for the pass. He just barely got it. Jack Springer slides into 4th. Yeah, it looks like Chris is making it hard early, so they know where they got to be, and the boys are trying to do everything they can to slide in the next spot.
Is it, as a younger guy racing, when you get the chance to race with some of these guys, is there a little bit of fanboy going on there? You're lining up against some of your racing idols. That's got to be not so much intimidating. It's got to be thrilling in a way, yeah?
For sure. Yeah, whenever we get these opportunities as a U23 racer to race the elites, I mean, it's for sure. It's, you're looking at the back of some Specialized Factory or Trek Factory jerseys, and you're like, dude, this is sick. So definitely always kind of an excited moment for sure.
Is there a lot of chit chat that goes on out on course and in talking in terms of just maybe when you're making the pass or anything like that, or is it just all business?
Nah, for the most part, it's all business. I mean, there might be some words said or whatnot if something's a little bit on the edge, a little bit, crossing the line or whatnot. But usually, it's all business. And these guys are not looking like they're doing much chit chatting up front. They're doing their thing. Chris is pushing the pace.
Yeah, you're just breathing too darn hard and trying to keep your heart inside your chest without leaping out of your body and trying to escape the pain that you're in. I think we talked a lot about this too. One of the neat features of this course, and you've probably raced here a lot when some of the NICA events and the Team Big Bear events that all get held here. Mm-hmm. There's just a ton of different ways to structure these courses, long and short, and whatever you want to do. That's one of the more impressive features, I think, of Velocity.
For sure. There's thousands of different ways you can run the courses out here.
Yeah, reroute them all kinds of different ways. I know the amateurs tomorrow will be racing a little longer course that even goes up on some of those areas over there.
Yeah.
But no, it's a really special treat that we've got here right in our backyard here in San Diego County. Chris Blevins now continuing to lead as they've come across one of the high points of the course and snaking their way back down along the trailhead there.
Looks
but yeah,
like
already very strung out. There's a long line of chasers now that are trying to keep pace with this very furious pace that's already being set. And you can see, again, that high cadence that Chris is known for and that accelerations that he's been able to put on racers here domestically and all across the World Tour, winning both those titles last year. Talk about Devin. We don't know what's he all about. What's your knowledge of him as a racer?
Yeah, man. He comes from ATV racing, GNCCs. He's a professional ATV racer, and made the switch to mountain bike a few years ago, and it's been nothing but horsepower from the guy. He's just been on the front doing his thing, kind of like what we saw at the start. He tends to be a fast starter, grabbing hole shots left and right, and he likes to push the pace early. He's a bigger dude.
Those moto
Pushes
guys,
tons of watts.
they earn a big engine by
sure.
racing moto like that. That transfers really well to bikes, yeah?
For sure, yeah. He's got great bike handling skills too. Kind of also translates over. But he's got that mentality, you know, and he picked it up pretty quick, it looks like. So
Yeah, they know how to throw it into corners. They know how to get that racing advantage and keep the elbows out and keep their position in line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Chris comes from BMX. A lot of these guys kind of come from different aspects, different types of racing, and I mean, it all translates. You can see it out on the race course track.
A lot of these guys too, like you, they were racing when they were little guys, single digits in the age groups, right? And come up all the way up, know nothing else. They didn't get swept away by basketball or baseball or anything like that, and they stayed with bikes their whole life.
Absolutely. Looks like some of the segment 28 boys are trying to latch on. Looks like that might be Austin Beard and Ivan Sippy trying to catch that toe.
And they're content, though, with letting Chris stay out there, and they're going to try and hold on to that as long as they can. This course, too, we talked about it in the women's elite race, a couple of distinct line choices to be made here at different segments in the course as they now kind of make the turn for home here at the end of the first of 7 laps. We'll get that kind of rack and stack as they kind of look around to see what they got here. But impressive fast lap here first off. Yeah, Chris Blevins, Carter Woods, Riley Amos, Jack Spranger, Austin Beard, Ivan Sippy, Braden Johnson, and Cole Patton, Devin Freehan, and Toby Hassett all is part of that first group now racing in together and charging out on their second lap. Couple segments here where there is a distinct A and B line. What do you do as a rider to prep yourself for that? Is that all you take that into account in the pre-ride and the looking at the lap, or is that more of a lap-by-lap decision based on if you know I can really time this the right way and slingshot my way around the faster line?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, during pre-ride, these guys are looking at all options, no matter if it's slower or faster. You never know when a rider's just going to bomb a section and you got to go around them. So they're always looking ahead. They're always planning stuff in pre-ride. They're stopping on places that, these guys are professional athletes and they're the best at the sport that they do. So they definitely don't have to stop in those sections, but they are. They're getting all the different line choices, and yeah, I mean, they got to know what to avoid and when.
In talking earlier in the coverage, we talked about the differences in the course and the terrain from Fayetteville to here for round 1 to round 2. Much different in terms of the tackiness, in terms of the feel and things like that. Here we've got that hard pack with a good amount of dust and dirt on top. Talk about that in terms of the selection, not only in the equipment, tire choice and things like that, but also the tactical race elements of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the setup's pretty similar, I'd say. I mean, they're high rolling, fast rolling tracks, and they're all pretty dry, I'd say, between Arkansas and here. But a lot of it will be the strategy is what I'm looking at here. Guys are waiting around. They're being patient. They're drafting. The wind's more of a factor here. And you can open up gaps better on the downhills here, I think. I think it's just a little bit more of a well-rounded course in Fayetteville. It's easier to just go hard and you'll be fine. And on the downhills, it's not a ton of time that can be, made or lost, and it's for the most part one-lined. So guys are definitely looking at different options here compared to Arkansas.
Yeah, they trying to keep the elastic in tow and make everything. Chris now slotted back into P3 now, seems very comfortable. Everybody kind of still feeling each other out. It looks like about a 9-rider lead group with a 10th rider dangling off the back there. So some selections already starting to be made as everybody else is kind of spread out around the remainder of the course. I think we got 26 riders overall in this wave of elite racers.
Yeah, looks like we have Riley out front, Carter on his wheel. We got Chris Blevins sitting 3rd, Braden Johnson in 4th. Looks like Austin Beard, Jack Spranger, Ivan Sippy, Cole Patton. Looks like he's made that bridge to that lead group.
Cole's one of those Swiss Army knife type of guys, right? It doesn't really matter. He's going to he's got 2 wheels. He's going to want to race it. And trying to split time between the mountain bike and the gravel bike. He's part of the Lifetime Series, going to be up in Sea Otter next week. But Riley Amos here taking a big dig in that national champion jersey and looking really good doing it and putting a bit of a gap there. Carter trying to hold pace and stay right on his rear wheel, but already a great, super fast race being broken out. 11:13 on that first lap, so by far the fastest lap of the day in any group, as expected. But now that group of 9 looks like it's whittled down to 4. Still very early. We got 7 total laps to do. We're on our second lap. But now everybody content with just trying to talk about this course too. These climbs are not super sustained. Though there's one that's probably longer than the other two, but they're all really pitchy. Some of these jumping up 18, 19%.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a very intense racetrack. You're gonna want to have that punch, and these guys look like they've been doing it. So it's gonna be fun to watch. Looks like Riley is leading them out into this rock section, looking quite comfortable in the descents. He's pushing through, getting aero.
And you just notice the flow. That's the thing I noticed the most is just the skill and the way they are just one with that bike, right? There's no wasted movement. Everything is a nice flow over whatever jumps or obstacles there is, and that I think is probably the most impressive, because that's where you carry the speed. That's where you're able to hold on to the speed and keep your position or gain position, gain time on a descent and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, connecting a racetrack is one of the biggest things you can do as a racer. It's just so important, connecting the climbs into the descents. It's so easy to just let off at the top of a climb and, give yourself that extra second. But connecting a racetrack and really, pushing where you got to push and laying off where you got to lay off is honestly a skill, and we're all trying to learn that still. So.
Well, Victor would kill me if I didn't ask you about this, man. You came up racing with us since you were a little guy. Kids races, and then up into the categories at Quick and Dirty, the local Grassroots facility here. Talk about that and the importance of that as getting that really valuable race experience as a younger guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Victor and Quick and Dirty have been a huge part of my racing career growing up. I mean, they were kind of the first ones in my area to have like a summer series race like weekday nights, and I mean, those were the ones my dad would take me to after school, and I'd be excited for him all day.
Cutting out of school a little early maybe on Thursdays.
Yeah, absolutely.
Coming down to Lake Hodges and pinning on the number.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, I didn't know what, attacking was, going hard, downhills, whatever. I was just out there having fun, no strategy, no nothing.
But you were winning, so it made it look really easy, right? It made the graduation part a lot better, because every time you moved up, you just kept winning.
For sure, man. Yeah, it's been fun. Oh, it looks like Chris unclips on the landing on that double.
Yeah, there was almost a nosedive there by Riley on one of the earlier jumps. I saw both of us kind of took a gasp at that.
Yeah, man. Oh, I felt it in my heart, man.
I
know that feeling. You hit it, you go off a lip, and you're just holding it, dude.
That surge of adrenaline
that
pulses right through you immediately when that happens.
Yeah, great save by Riley there.
Is there a local race scene up in San Luis Obispo that you've been able to attach onto, or is it all just school and training?
Dude, man, it's been busy. Not a ton of XCO racing out there. Lots of crit practices. That's been fun to do. All those guys are super strong, but yeah.
That allows you to keep the engine topped off, right?
For sure. Yeah, these guys all do different, disciplines. I know Riley races all kinds of endurance stuff, and Chris likes to jump on the road sometimes too. Yeah, for sure.
It's bunched back up now again. We got about 9 riders there in this lead group, snaking their way back up to through the power
Cole
climb.
Patton wants to get back on.
A course like this does favor, I would think, the rider that has that ability to do these 2.5, 3 minute long bursts of high power, up in the 500-600 watts, maybe even a little more, to be able to keep pace, and then also navigate these tight turns that come with that you have to interject in the middle of that power outburst.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely explosive race course, but it's fast too. I mean, these bigger guys, like now in the World Cup, these guys are bigger, they're not built like roadies anymore, and I mean, they have so much power. These short tracks, they're all really fast, so you gotta have some meat to you for sure.
that meat helps you carry the speed. It helps you gain the position.
Yeah,
It helps you put that more power out when you need it.
Exactly, too. Yeah, and also some crash protection. I mean, these guys are going over some gnarly stuff, and they're wearing nothing, dude. I mean, they're wearing helmets, glasses, and gloves if they shoes, and that's it.
Yeah, we're out here in our underwear and a glorified styrofoam cup for the most part.
Pretty much, yeah.
Nice big dig there on the uphill section. Riley putting in a hard turn at the front. No, that's Chris Blevins moved back up in front there.
It looks like Chris jumps on and he wants to push the pace.
Enough of this nonsense. I'm going right to the front. Carter answered that call. Riley slots back now in fourth.
Yeah, it looks like Carter Woods follows. Braden Johnson sit in third. Riley Amos slots to fourth. We got Austin Beard, Jack Spranger.
Well, as you're healing up here, what is kind of next for you? What's been the protocol lately? Have you been able to get back to training, or is it we still got to let the nose heal and to be able to breathe correctly first?
Yeah, it's been good. The face is healed pretty good. Just got that lingering concussion that I got to take care of. Just taking things slow, but yeah, I'm working on the indoor bike now, so doing lots of trainer stuff as of last week, and looks like I can ride on the road this week, so that'll be fun.
Great,
yeah,
man.
Getting things rolling. The next goal will be Wisconsin in a few weeks. Yeah.
Good. It'll be good to have you back out there. I know your fellow racing competitors are going to be bummed to hear that, knowing that you're going to be back in the mix with them. But yeah, Chris Blevins now asserting authority over the front end once again.
Yeah, I've heard Chris say he loves the course out here. He says it's definitely his style, BMX, these jumps, these berms, he enjoys it. So
we caught him over on the pump track yesterday after the short track race. He was just out there noodling around, running manuals across all the jumps out there, and we were chatting him up after. He's like, it's just fun. I just love being out here.
Yeah, for sure.
It's so good to have him representing himself and this team in the U.S. the way he has. Well, I tell you what, my man, we'll let you get back to your family and cheering these racers on, but it's been good to connect with you, and we want to see a lot more of you out on the course here, so we hope you heal up and are able to get back out there and give it hell with the rest of them, okay?
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Thanks for having me commentating for a little bit. It's been fun, so yeah, excited to see how this race plays out.
Right on, brother. Appreciate you, and good luck, okay? Keep healing up.
Thank you.
Right.
All right, and back to the race action here as we look on approach now. We got a big group, lead group now making their way through, seeing 5 to go on the race card.
This is the elite of the elite. Everybody taking a moment, a pause for the cause to get some hydration and nutrition on board and run down that list of that group that we've got with Cole Patton there trying to chase in.
Yeah, Devin Feehan was in there. Carter Woods, of course, Braden Johnson, Chris Blevins, Riley Amos, Austin Beard, Ivan Sippy, Cole Patton hopefully reconnecting there. Nicholas Konecki as well, and here they go back out for another lap. Again, seeing 5 to go this time through. Great to see Riley Amos in the Stars and Stripes there, current national champion. We talked about that. He took a fall yesterday and took a spill in that short track early on that took him out of contention. He was able to finish the race under his own power, but a little banged up. Saw him in the med tent after that race and wondered how he was going to feel today. And, well, Jim, you tell me. It looks like he's feeling pretty good.
I'd say he's doing just fine. It's been a real dynamic race so far, too. Lots of lead changes. Nobody really trying to make a big breakaway or just really get out there in front and hold it. So a lot of shifting around. I think everybody kind of sizing each other up in the early stages of this race so far, and our elite men putting on quite a show so far.
Yeah, a little uncharacteristic for Blevins here to be setting mid-pack for a race like this. Not his style sometimes, as it looks like he's starting to put in a dig as I say that, because knowing Chris's race likes to be in that clean air in front, doesn't want to get caught up in anything that could happen mid-pack or back. Looks like he's slotting up here to P2, P3, somewhere in there, but Looked like he's been wanting to be in the lead on the descents as I was looking at the coverage here. And
that's what Raulita was mentioning, that the fact that on the descents is where you really can make some time on this course. So if you're out there, like you said, in that clean air, you can find your own line. You can race your own line down the hill and really put some time into the chasers.
Well, we saw that working for Haley Batten in the Elite Women's race, right on the descents. We were talking about how once she was out in front, that's when she was seeing that separation. And so makes a lot of sense as they rattle through that rock garden right there. And
high line being chosen there by a couple of those riders, and then being able to switch back to the outside line in the tight corner.
Little step down right there. And
that's some F1 maneuvering right there, right? That's that in and out as you come in and out of the courses based on the line you chose. You set yourself up for the second turn with the first turn.
Yeah, so still a big lead group as we kind of settle into this race. Looks like we've got, 8 riders here made in that initial selection, but more trying to get back on terms. That might be Cole Patton there, seeing if he can't pedal his way back into contention. Right now on the outside looking in.
Cole did a really neat post the other day about how he packs his bike for a trip like this, and I learned a lot. I learned how to protect my bike a little better because of some of the tips and tricks he gave there. So if you get a chance, go back and look him up. He's a good follow anyway on the socials, but he showed how the pros do it, and that's how the rest of us hacks try to figure out what we can do, is we copy what the pros do.
Well, look at Devin Feehan with Dirt Camp Racing, holding it down with some of the top elite racers in the country. Currently setting the pace here, and Riley Amos setting second wheel, Chris Blevins in third.
Just look at that acceleration on the uphill that Chris Blevins able to. He's going to go right over the top, right, insert himself right into first with a massive acceleration coming out of that corner, showing off that World Cup experience.
Yeah, we'll see who's able to go with him. I mean, pretty impressive. Devin Feehan looking like he's matching Chris on that effort. Riley Amos shutting that door down as well. And Chris taking the win yesterday in short track. He took the short track win in Fayetteville as well. Yesterday he's rolling around with the rainbow stripes on his jerseys. He's also a former short track world champion.
Yeah, those, to get to forever wear those stripes is a pretty impressive honor, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gobbled up another world title here at some point in his career.
Well, if coming off of what was just a stellar 2025 campaign, it definitely would have to think that world championships were on his radar in 2026. As you know, now 1, 2, 3, Christopher Blevins, Devin Feehan, and Riley Amos with our Trek Unbroken XC.
I know it meant a lot to Chris, too, to win both of those titles on home soil like that in Lake Placid, to be able to wrap up those titles there and take the podium in front of all the family and friends here in the States is really, really important. 1, 2, 3 of the elite here now out in front of this field. Always good, too, to have the current national champion representing in a race, and Riley doing that so very well in that Stars and Stripes jersey.
You know, Chris looking to defend his title last year in this same race. Chris Blevins did take the win. Riley Amos finished second. Carter Woods came across the line in third. Jack Springer in fourth, and Robbie Day in fifth. Rounded out the top 5 from 2025 here at Velocity Bike Park. So Chris definitely no stranger to taking wins here at this venue as they air it out over that gap jump. Some of the newer features built in the off season by the team and the trail crew team here at Velocity Bike Park. Up and over that flyover. They put that in last year. I think that was the first year we featured that, but really unique. Kind of pulls from that kind of arena or motocross, and they go over the top and shoot through as they kind of figure 8 around. And on the other side of that, the most aggressive rock garden on the course, as you'll see, it puts the short travel bikes, uses all of the suspension on them as they rattle down through that.
You see, you get an example of how smoothly these riders go over some of those rock garden sections, as if they're just one with the bike and no wasted movement. Everything just flows right through it, and let the bike and their shoulders take all of the absorbing of the impact that they're taking through the rocks.
Yeah, all those riders taking that A line there, airing it out instead of choosing that B line where they've got those few little log features. You kind of got a bunny hop over. Definitely a time penalty if you choose that B line. I was talking to some of our elite women, and you can feel the wind out there. They said that it is definitely like when you're catching air out there, and there is some wind out here on the backside of the course, and they were feeling that. It was either the headwind, you know, I think when you were doing pre-ride, you think you had your cadence down and your speed to carry speed over there, but the wind is being kind of tricky today. It's kind of gusting upwards of 20 miles per hour at different portions at the venue. You see the race tape kind of blowing around there on the screen, and they said it was actually kind of pushing them off their line a little bit, and I think that's why we saw some of the women opting for that B line in that race, because after hitting that A line a few times, I don't think a few of them liked how that felt to be pushed around by the wind in the air.
Yeah, sometimes you got to find that speed, right? If you can use the course to help give you a little bit of advantage like that, you're going to take it every time.
Yeah, they said it sets up nice. It was built real nice. It carries real nice. You can carry speed right into all those gaps. What's different now than in pre-ride is this wind that we're seeing here at the venue.
Yeah, later in the day as the day goes on, the wind starts to pick up, and yeah, I can see where you're coming up and over, cresting some of these ridge lines. That wind will turn, depending on how you're turning, you're going to turn right into a fierce headwind like that when you didn't expect it.
That's exactly what they were talking about. And so it wouldn't surprise me that, you know, depending as this race unfolds, if you get off that line one time, it's probably enough to spook you to then to opt for that B line for the rest of the race.
Yeah, this front group has not changed much since the first lap. They've been tending to bunch together as they finish the lap.
Yeah, Devin Feehan, Carter Woods, Braden Johnson, Chris Blevins, Riley Amos, Jack Springer. It looks like we got a group of 5 now. So when they came through, this was a bigger bunch last time through when they saw 5 to go. It looks like that effort by Chris picking up the pace. He had about 4 athletes willing to go with him because now this selection's been made and now this lead group down to 5, Jim.
Yeah, a tight one, and then the elite of the elite, if you will, with really starting to stretch things out. Feeling really good. Everybody's nice and comfortable so far, but I think we can start to expect some fireworks being launched here over the course of the next couple laps as some riders want to try and distance themselves from anybody and not have to worry about being caught later on.
All right, making a move around now. I think that is Devin Feehan. Going to lead him down here off the mountain.
What a great shot there. Just shows you the expansive network of trails that are built into the Velocity Bike Park here.
Yeah, 50-mile network. Plenty of options to diversify this course year over year. We've seen that this year. About 10% of the course is different from 2025. Look at the speed now being carried by Devin Feehan. You talked about it. I mean, that's really where you can have your advantage if you can get out in front on these descents and pick your own line. That can be definitely a racer advantage.
That might be part. Not sure. It's a giant kit, though. That's the only reason I say that. Not sure.
Big Carter Woods now out in front. We'll check as we get a little closer here. Eye in the sky.
Christopher's got some chasing to do to reattach to that. That's a big turn of speed there that he's been able to establish just on, like we said, again, on the descent here. He's able to put some time in and be able to get a little bit of a lead here as they are about to wrap up this, getting close to wrapping up this lap. Riders slingshotting through some of the berms here and then right into a lumpy rock garden.
Riley Amos holding good pace, so again, good to see him out here. Looking back at Fayetteville, he ended up taking the win there for round 1 of the 2026 U.S. XC Open Series presented by Village Farms. Pretty excited to get that HC win under his belt early season. Both him and Blevins off to South Korea here pretty soon for the start of that UCI World Cup calendar.
That's new for the World Cup. Yeah, starting over there. They normally start in Brazil, don't they?
Yeah, it's the first time they've started that in South Korea. Exciting new race on the calendar. We get a look here now as our leaders on the way through. That is Carter Woods leading the way with Giant Factory, followed by Chris Blevins, Riley Amos, Braden Johnson.
Braden's going to do whatever he can to catch on to that fast-moving train.
And
Looks like he's going to do
Beard.
that. Austin as well. Austin, a bigger rider, but holding his own against this lead group now, this very elite lead group of our elite men race here. Carter now setting the pace as they come through the feed zone, the tech zone. Probably going to take on a bottle just to throw it over the head, just to try and keep the body as cool as you can. Three of the top riders in North America, if not the world, featured athletes here at the Orange Seal Pro Cup. 4 laps to go.
Yeah, Carter Woods, a multi-time Canadian national champion, delivered a strong and well-rounded 2025 season highlighted by multiple victories on the Canadian Cup circuit and UCI-sanctioned races early in the year. Last year, he carried that momentum to several World Cup consistent top 30 finishes, and good to see him out at the front end of this race. He's had strong finishes in Fayetteville, finished 3rd in Friday's short track and 3rd in Saturday's HC competition in round 1 of the US XC Open.
Yeah, everything we got going on here in the States with races like the XC Open Series is going on in those other European countries as well, and they'll now then all converge in South Korea for the opening round of that World Cup, and that's when it gets really interesting, because that's you really start to sift out the best of the best, the elite of the elite, worldwide, going to start coming together and racing together, testing that early season form and gobbling up those very, very valuable World Cup points.
Looking at a good lead group of 5 here.
Yeah, so our lead group once again, Chris Blevins, Riley Amos, Braden Johnson, Justin Beard, and Devin Feehan are all in this leading group of 5 that is really separated from everybody else on the course.
Impressive to see Braden Johnson up there in the mix with Allied Cycle Works. Been racing for several years. Has found a top 5 finish in the World Championships a few years ago.
They're good Arkansas company, yeah? Or Allied based out of Arkansas down there?
Based out of Arkansas, that's correct. He's on I think what they call the BC40 is that bike he's on. Pretty mean machine. The popular mountain bike there in that northwest Arkansas region.
Riley Amos now taking a big dig at the front, coming up this short grade.
Austin Beard there.
Yeah, right in the mix, isn't he?
Yeah, and here we're just talking about him. There goes Braden Johnson now, making a move up. They're all just jockeying for position here as they on this climb. Riley Amos seems to be taking his turn at the top. I wonder if we don't see some, get back to this descent. Carter Woods, though, we've seen that, wants to be in front on those descents. Now back to our current U.S. national champion, Riley Amos, racing for Trek Unbroken XC. Jim, pretty similar to what we saw in the Elite Women's race where we had at least a lead group. We've seen this in our junior men 17-18 as well. This race staying all together. Obviously a lot more compelling story when they do. It's not that it's not exciting when you have one rider go off the front with a big effort. It's exciting when it sticks and it pays off. Doesn't always work out. But not seeing a lot of that here this year at Vail.
No, I think that just says that the talent level is fairly evenly matched at the pointy end here, and everybody can stay and contend. And then we found too that near the end, a couple of those riders will decide, nope, this is my time to shine, and I'm going to now put a hard effort in at a certain part of the course that I know well enough to know that I can, from here at this point, I can hold on to this. And in some cases that's worked, in some cases it has, and we had a couple of good 2-up sprints early in the short track, and then a great race played out in our Elite Women's race here just before this one. But still, this is not something, you can't sleep on this course, though. You cannot lull yourself into a false sense of security thinking that, oh, I've got this made, I can just cruise through this, man. One little lapse in concentration, one little just taking your eyes off the prize, and it's going to cause that front wheel to slip out, and it can completely ruin your whole race.
Yeah, we've seen this course conditions be a factor today, as traction seems to be pretty good for as dry and arid and as loose as the conditions are here in this high desert area of Southern California. As Riley Amos looks over his shoulder. Starting to bunch up here.
Everybody kind of just sitting up right there. Interesting, huh? They come across the top of the over-under. Everybody just kind of sat up for a second.
Yeah, you saw the inner part of the course known as the Coliseum. They'll shoot through that over-under Connex box. Good shot at that purpose-built rock garden. They'll rattle down. Then they're going to hit that speed in that Orange Seal Speed and Style section. Shout out to Orange Seal, the official sealant of the U.S. Cup and trusted by more pros than any other brand. Stop flats dead in their tracks with Orange Seal.
You guys exercising both speed and style through there and looking really good doing it.
Again, shot at some of the newer infrastructure built over the off season. They definitely added to the fun factor out here, Jim.
Yeah, they do, and they're doing it all the time too. This is not the end. This is not the final by any means. They've got lots of dirt they can push around here, and are always going to be looking for ways to enhance the rider experience. Whether it's the weekend warrior that's just coming out here for fun and some fitness, or whether it's these world-class athletes that are racing as part of the Orange Seal Pro Cup.
Little style points up for grabs there. As you get a look at the chase here. That might be Cole Patton we're seeing there.
Yeah, they were showing us that this is probably the chase group 1, if you will. Trying to just grind their way back into contention with that lead group.
Cole out there racing for Giant. Seeing if he can't bridge back up. We'll get an idea at the split next time through. Last time through, they were still all together, so kind of hard to see. There was a 15-second gap back to some of those chasers, and so that was the gap last time through. Lap time 11:09. These are some fast laps, fastest laps. That's to be expected. Fastest laps we've seen all day, as turning just around the 11-minute mark, a little bit over. Carter Woods leading them through last time with 11:09.
Yeah, Riley, just in his second year racing Elite, he did see it. It's just an amazing U23 career, and now racing up with the Elites. He won the national champion jersey, which he's racing in today, and now having to contend with Chris Blevins on a day-in, day-out basis, as Chris himself puts in a massive dig at the top part of this climb as they're going up here.
Again, this seems to be the part of the course where the attacks are being made, and Riley Amos, Carter Woods able to at least try to answer this attack now that Christopher Blevins is putting down. Look at this. He is not giving up, but he is shedding off the back. It looks like Austin Beard, Braden Johnson not able to cover this attack by Chris Blevins, and it's now a race of 3. As they approach the top to drop off the side, Chris is going to lead him in. Looks over the shoulder, never even looked back to see who has gone with him. Turns his head around, sees that Carter Woods and Riley Amos covered that attack and went right with him.
And Carter there jumping over Riley just to make sure he's got a better line on the descent. Didn't want to be third. He wanted to be second on Chris's wheel. And they both, like you said, answered that attack really well. Chris might have been a little surprised to look back and see those two guys still with him, given that hard effort that he put out near the top of that climb.
Yeah, look, Carter right there with Chris. I think Carter's probably, looks like Carter may have a little, when it comes to this descending, coming down from Canada to race this race, it looks like Carter may favor those descents. We definitely see when he's in the front here, he's able to create some separation, but right now, just sitting back and having to follow Chris's wheel on this descent as they drop off the mountain this time. Next time through, leader's going to see 3 to go, so we're past the halfway point of our Elite Men's competition for the 2026 Orange Seal Pro Cup, presented by Velocity Bike Park. Shout out to those tuned in on InsiderMTB.com. I want to thank Maxima Racing Oils. Reminder, use code INSIDERMTB for 20% off their products.
You know you got good coverage being knocked out by InsiderMTB.com, and we've got one of the UCI commissaires sitting in the booth with us taking it all in because we've got such a eagle-eye view of everything. We can't miss any square inch of this course, so even the officials are dialed into that, which is great.
Well, they're dropping down now, about to on approach here, and a couple twists and turns is the elevation profile. There's a couple key climbs. We see that one of the first climb comes right pretty much after the start as they punch their way up to that Connex box, drop back down through the speed and style section. Then you've got our power climb, Village Farms power climb, the second climb, and seemed to be the favorable point on course for folks feeling like they got a little in the tank to make a move, as we saw Chris do on this last lap. Able to shed some of the competition. Don't know that. Looks like there's either Austin Beard or maybe Braden Johnson trying to bridge back up. We'll see as our leaders come through. This time I'm going to see 3 to go. It's a group of 3 now being led by Christopher Blevins, Carter Woods riding second wheel, national champion Riley Amos right there as well. They look over the shoulder, see if we can't get a look at the time split here. Looks like they may be bridging back up here. At least one of the riders is. I think that might be Austin Beard now.
Giving them a chance to reattach as they
3 to go, gentlemen. 3 to go.
come through. I mean, by the looks of them, you wouldn't even know they're in the middle of an elite level race, man. A couple of those guys' mouths weren't even open. They were just resetting, getting a chance to onboard some hydration and nutrition and keep the body fueled up and ready to go, and then try to stretch it out on another lap as they've just got 3 laps left to go.
Look, it's Austin Beard now with team segment 28.
And Austin came right to the front, too. He attached that group and went right to the front.
Braden Johnson came through here tucked down in the arrow position, trying to get through the start-finish area. We're feeling a little bit of that headwind as it comes off the ocean from the west. You see
Chris taking a bottle of water to the head there to keep
starting to splash bottles on. That's pretty common at this point. It's only about 70 degrees out here, but abundant sunshine, no real place to hide from the elements, so they're going to feel all that sunshine. The UV index pretty high today, actually, so definitely feels hot out there on the bike. Now a group of 4, pretty good effort there by Austin Beard to close that down and rejoin that group. And now look here's Braden Johnson seeing if he can't latch back on. Again, all this carnage caused by that big dig Chris put in on the power climb.
Pick your horse, place your bets, because this race progressively is going to get faster and faster.
Yeah,
and as I say that, you look at Chris Blevins moving from P3 right into P1. He's not going to be one that's going to let the pace slow down for a prolonged period of time. If it finds an opportunity for him to be able to keep the pace high, ratchet the speed up, he is going to take every advantage of that he can. But so far, he's had a tough time shaking any of these top 4 riders because they've all been managed to recoalesce and bring it all together through the end of each lap, and now here deep into this race.
So that last lap, 11:46, so a little slower. So slowing down out there makes sense, though, as they try different tactics. They may have been setting up, kind of doing a little recovery before Chris put in that big attack. And so about 45 seconds slower that last lap around. There's a look at Braden Johnson trying to get back on terms. He can see him. They're right there. He's just a few bike links away from latching back on, but young Braden on that Allied Cycle Works ride out of Arkansas. Spent some years racing for Team USA. Right now, speaking of USA, it is the U.S. Phenom, Christopher Blevins, on the front of this bike race. Round 2, the 2026 US XC Open Series presented by Village Farms. Carter Woods. These 3 were battling it out round 1 just a few weeks ago.
Chris attacking out of this corner again. He did it a couple laps ago, doing it again here out of that swooping U-turn uphill and just driving out of there.
Look at the acceleration on that climb. He's going to push up to that Connex box, kind of the high point of the course. Carter Woods going with him, though, able to cover that.
Covered it nicely. No hard effort seemed to be made there at all. He just glued right to that rear wheel. And look at that gap that those two opened up over P3.
Yeah, separation now between Austin Beard and Riley Amos. Riley maybe getting blocked a little bit back there behind Beard.
Yeah, neither of those guys able to match that aggressive acceleration.
Braden Johnson back there kind of in no man's land at this point, setting P5. Chris rattling down that rock guard, and they're going to drop back down here. They'll hit that speed and style section. Always a fun part of the course to maybe catch a little tail whip here and there.
Good for the gram, right? We get those nice videos and photos of these riders showing off their skills and bike handling ability.
Yeah, good reminder that if you missed any of the race action from yesterday or today, InsiderMTV.com YouTube channel, all that there is catalog there. You can go back and catch the race action if you missed it.
Yeah, Chris and Carter looking very comfortable here with a high pace. Now starting to draw this field out even a little bit more. That frog in a pot kind of notion, right? We just keep turning the heat up to see what we can't do to distance everybody behind you and ride as unencumbered as you can.
Chris just looked out there like he's just playing bikes at the front of this bike race.
Yeah, just a little Saturday flow and measured effort being put out in the entire race so far. Carter able to match thus far every one of those attacks that have gone off, and these two guys now starting to separate themselves with every twist and turn of this course.
Yeah, about to punch through that Connex box here, the second of two rock gardens, and then back down into that speed and style section. See the fans, that's just a popular place to take in the race action as they're gapping those tables.
Yeah, see them getting some nice air and just how smoothly and easily they flow over those technical sections of the course.
They're doing this on short travel bikes, by the way. I mean, that's so impressive. I mean, you think about, if you're out there just riding, you're typically probably going to pick a bike for this level of technicality and those types of jumps with a little bit more suspension. But, I mean, at most says maybe 120, but if I had to guess, they're maybe a little shorter travel than that.
Yeah.
They make their way down here by the venue right behind us. Good looking shot there. Really, that was a good looking shot of the soil composition out here and just how dry and dusty things are as you see the wind there whipping around. And Carter Woods up and out of the saddle, going to come around, taking advantage of that flat area around that feed zone to get up and around Chris. I think this is maybe a tactic just to block Chris as they approach this power climb, to not give Chris the opportunity to maybe put in that big dig like he did that last lap. That might be as much as a defensive move by Carter that it was offense.
Savvy one at that, because I think you're spot on, and he's just rather set the pace up here rather than have to try and meet the pace of a charging Chris Blevins. So a nice move there by Carter to maintain control of the race as best he can.
And if Carter's setting the pace and it's not as hard charging as the last lap, it could give Riley Amos what he's looking for, a chance to latch back on, because definitely not as an aggressive attack as we saw last lap with when Chris Blevins was leading the charge up the power climb. Man, they make short work of this.
Don't they, though? And they make it look so easy. Any one of us mortals would be out here just still suffering through probably our second or third lap, and these guys are just laying waste to this course and the competitive landscape.
All right, so here goes Chris. He's coming around the outside. He's making that move again. Carter's going to have to cover. Little game of cat and mouse here as Chris Blevins now. Carter just sucks right onto that wheel.
Yeah, Chris waited for a wide part of that single track to be able to make a nice pass right there, and is now accelerating and forcing Carter to dig really hard just to stay attached.
Carter, part of that Giant Factory off-road team. Good job to cover as now they lead the descent. I would think Carter would want to be in the front here, as we've seen this in previous laps. When Carter was in the front, he was able to create some separation on these descents, and in this case, I think he's just going to have to be comfortable setting second wheel to Chris Blevins as they make their way off the mountain.
Yeah, he didn't have much to say about that, did he? Chris just said, I'm going to come right around you now. I'm going to be in front.
Yeah, and look at the time gap that's opened up now. Kind of blowing the doors off this race, as I don't even see
My word.
Austin Beard, Riley Amos, not even
completely gapped
there.
out.
They're coming around the corner now. And so, yeah, just you can see back to second or third, fourth, and fifth.
What an impressive showcase this has been so far by Carter and Christopher.
He gets down for a race of two, and going to be 2 laps to go next time through. Again, last lap a little slower, 11:46. We'll see if this effort by these 2 leaders expected to be a little faster than what we saw last time. They're on approach now to the start-finish line. This is exciting, Jim. You know what? Anytime one of these 2 athletes is going to try to throw in another attack, it's just who's going to do it. We've seen Carter Woods attack before that climb. We saw Chris attack on the climb. Seen him do that a couple of times now.
Yeah, it's not a matter of if, it's when, right? We're just waiting for that explosion to occur, and can that be answered by the other rider? Whoever drops that bomb, can that be answered by that other rider? Or will that be the decisive move in the race?
Yeah, I don't want to. If you don't have to, you don't want to take it down to a sprint. Rather create that separation out on course. We saw that work for Haley Batten in the Elite Women's competition. About a half lap to go. Saw that work for our junior men's competition as well. Here we go, side by side, ladies and gentlemen, coming through. Carter Woods, Christopher Blevins. Now the pointy end by themselves in this Elite Men's competition. Seeing 2 to go at the 2026 Orange Seal Pro Cup.
A little bit of wind there, but it doesn't seem to matter too much to either of these guys. They're kind of just trading poles here and swapping positions and keeping things in check here. But my guess is this thing is going to hot up here as we get down with just 2 laps to go. We'll get a time check on the chasing P3 and P4 riders.
Austin Beard and Riley Amos. The time split is 21 seconds, gentlemen. 21 seconds back. 2 to go, 2 to go, 2 to go. Now Braden Johnson comes across the line, setting P5. Braden, you're about 14 seconds back from Riley. Look back here at our leaders. How about Devin Feehan there for Dirt Camp Racing?
Yeah, Devin's had a really respectable race so far against this field. I was thinking too last night as I was prepping for being here today to watch this elite race, how much fun it must be as these athletes to get to travel around the world and race all these different courses in all these beautiful countries and things like that. Yeah. Everyone's so uniquely different, the topography, the landscape, and everything like that they get to race, and how much fun it must be to be an athlete at this level.
Well, where you get to spend your off season, you know, you're always chasing sunshine, and so a lot of these athletes off season in other parts of the world where they can do that, and so yeah, if you're at this elite level of competition, you could probably call yourself a globetrotter, I guess, Jim.
Oh, absolutely. Your passport is all knocked up with stamps and tickets from all over around the world like that. And it's growing here in the States, which is great. We're getting more of that high-level racing, more races like you have in Arkansas, and a World Cup coming here again, and We got Worlds coming to Durango in a couple of years, which I absolutely can't wait for. So the profile is definitely being raised, and more fans are getting interested in it. More and more younger riders are getting interested in it, which means the pathway to the pros is that much wider for athletes here in the States, which is absolutely fantastic.
Well, we talked about that throughout the broadcast yesterday about the feeder to the sport, with now NICA introducing mountain biking to athletes as young as 5th grade. And then you've got these amazing investment being made in development with teams like Bear and Slay and everybody that's here with us this weekend. And so there's someone to answer that call for those athletes that maybe get introduced at a scholastic level, and then they're looking to do more. They can move up the ranks and join the ranks of like a Donovan Racing or others, and that development team then helps them make that step. It's that progression in sport that may have been missing for some years here in the States that was available in other countries. But you're right, you don't have to look farther than the size of the fields for our junior 15, 16, 17, 18, both men and women, to know that mountain biking here in the U.S. is in a very healthy place.
Yeah, and then you look no further than the Walton family, which has invested so much money in the infrastructure in Arkansas alone, but also nationwide in terms of their support of the sport and the teams and things like that. That's what we need, and good on those companies that are big and small investing into the sport and the athletes, because it takes that investment to be able to really put the motivation, the energy behind it. Here comes another attacky part of the course so far, and Chris winding up a big turn to speed.
You saw it. He was trying. Carter Woods may have shut that attack down, unknowingly shut it down, because you saw Chris winding up right there. He may try it again. Here he goes. He's going to try this attack again.
Tried the inside. Now he's going
Look,
on the
they're
outside.
side by side on a piece of single track right here as they approach the top of this climb.
Bar to bar.
Again, about a lap and a half left in our Elite Men's competition. And the last lap was faster, down to a 11:23, so they carved about 30 seconds off the lap time from the lap before. So definitely see where the separation came as these two gentlemen picking up the pace in this Elite Men's race.
See Chris there dropping that seat, putting leverage on that seat post to drop it down to get a little more advantage over that bike, get over the center of it a little better, be able to move around it on it.
I didn't have that when I started mountain biking. Jim, you probably didn't either. Droppers were not they may have been there. We were just really slow to adopt them, and but now they're just a staple on these race bikes, as I think we've learned over time, that being able to get that saddle out and control that center of gravity on the bike.
That's one area for sure that has made the racing so much more competitive, is the advance in technology in just the past few years. When you talk about the advance in the suspension systems and things like that, so some of the stuff nowadays wasn't available on motocross bikes here just a few years ago, and now we're racing lightened up and dumbed down versions of that on these cross-country mountain bike machines.
You talk about barrier to entry, and you talk about sport like moto and stuff too. Like, you see these guys out here, and yes, you may be able to buy a moto bike with the same stickers on some of the top that are racing in that sport, but that's not the same bike. Let's be clear. Mountain biking is a little different. Like, I'm not saying there's not a barrier to entry and these aren't expensive rigs that they're on, but for the most part, a person can get into this sport and can come close to having comparable, a comparable machine to race on as the elite level is doing here.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's one of the great parts about it. If you can afford it, you can race the same machine that these elite level athletes are out on every day. Yeah, Carter's not showing any signs. He's able to absorb every punch that Chris is able to put out, and that may bode well for his chances to have to get the win here, because we're getting into the later stages of this race, and these two are just still throwing haymakers at one another, and nobody is giving any inch of give on this to be able to say, I don't have what it takes.
No, I love that comparison. Definitely a heavyweight fight unfolding here as we're getting close to the 12th round, and next time through going to be the final lap. We saw this at our elite women's field as well, as Haley Batten and Jen Jackson battled that one out in the front. Now in our elite men, it's Christopher Blevins and Carter Woods, two heavyweight fights here today at the 2026 Orange Seal Pro Cup presented by Velocity Bike Park. Obviously, Chris, no stranger to winning at this venue. Found a lot of success here over the years, and so as they approach next time through, they're going to get the one to go. Now, we still do have a little bit of this lap left, though, and Chris in position right here. I think this is that spot last time where Carter Woods came around and tried to get in front of Chris before they hit that climb. As they're about to be approaching that.
Smart of a racer as we think he is. He's going to do the same thing here to try and keep that advantage and keep Chris at bay from a really big burst of speed. Nope, it's Chris leading the climb here.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't know that that's going to work in Carter's favor because you can see Chris, I think he's already putting in a big dig here. They're about to approach the start of this Violet's Farms power climb. Great shots there of this high desert here in Southern California. Man, you can just look there and you can see the venue below them as they're coming up the high point of the mountain. Really see how just sprawling this venue is. There's a chance to give a shout out to our presenting partner, Velocity Bike Park and the Vail Lake Resort, home to the bike park and the Temecula KOA Resort, the premier mountain bike destination in Southern California. We've got over 50 miles of trails for every type of ride. Whether you come for the day or take advantage of the on-site amenities and make it a multi-day experience, come for the weekend.
Chris with another really hard dig there that was answered nicely, or that is being answered nicely by Carter. So Carter on some really good form right now, being able to stay with the World Cup champion every lap so far.
The wind starts to pick up here at the venue. Again, about 20 miles per hour gusting through the venue, and it's picking up, and the riders are going to feel that like we talked about. We've heard that from other riders. You can feel the wind out on course.
Another sugar cookie day for the rest of us down here, taking it all in. But, man, I tell you what, it's worth it. If that's the price I got to pay to get to this front row seat to this kind of racing, I'm all for it because this has been an absolute thrill show all day long.
There was dust everywhere yesterday, my friend.
There was dirt in places. I didn't know I had places.
It's Carter Woods there kicking up some dirt in that corner, scrubbing out a little bit. Again, you know, controlling your speed on these descents. You just can't really, you know, it's not like all gas, no brakes all the time because definitely got to stay on it. I know it looks like it's just fast and flowy, but there's a lot of little hidden lines in here that you got to hit to be able to carry that speed.
Yeah, they banked a lot of these turns really nice. The riders are able to just slingshot through these corners and just multiply their speed out of them and be able to.
Look at that inside line they took there off that to carry speed, that little technical section, and just kind of post up there and drop back in and let gravity do the work from there. And there's the chase grip. Look at the gap now.
My goodness. And there's no slouch on these guys. These guys are some of the top racers you'll find anywhere on the planet. I think it's more a testament to just the good form that Carter and Christopher are on right now.
Look back here as Chris leads him off the mountain. And a great shot of just the expansiveness of the venue. All right, Jim, next time through is going to be the one to go for our leaders.
Cowbell City.
Getting pretty close to wrapping up our Elite Men's competition. Going to have one to go. Lap times have been anywhere between low 11 minutes to in the 12s, and so get an idea of what that pace is they're carrying as they approach start-finish now. I'd say we're definitely around the under 15 minutes from this one being over. And we got one more race on the schedule. Reminder, up next at 3:30, once we're done with this race, we'll do our Elite Men's podium. Then at 4 o'clock, going to be our U23 XCO competition. Going to be the final race on the calendar of the day. Day 2 of 3 at the 2026 Orange Seal Pro Cup.
All right, these guys have now sized themselves up for 6 laps now, and they're looking around, taking on a little hydration, a little nutrition. And
one to go, gentlemen. One to go, one to go, one to go.
The bell has been rung. We're in the final lap now. Orange Seal Pro Cup, Velocity Bike Park, and it's going to be a doozy. Look for some haymakers to be thrown. Look for some massive attacks, power outbursts to be dropped here.
Like a 7-round heavyweight fight. 7 laps of racing, all going to come down to this between these two gentlemen right here, Carter Woods, Christopher Blevins. Blevins looking really comfortable. Now we're seeing the chase come through as Riley Amos now 40 seconds back, and Austin Beard there comes across the line in fourth. Chris dropping his bottle there. 1 to go, gentlemen, 1 to go.
Another round of thank yous, too, to all the crew here at Velocity Bike Park. Ty Cady and his crew for putting on a very excellent, well-run race. A big thank you to all of our UCI commissars who are out here keeping things tight and making sure everything runs as smoothly as it does.
Devin Feehan and Braden Johnson just came through with 1 to go. They two locked up together. And get a look there of, I think might have been Riley Amos out there by himself.
There is no shame in that. This has been a tough race, and not surprising at all that the way it's played out the way it has.
All right, so there's a couple places here on this lap. Chris Blevins has moved into the front. There's 2 climbs here, and there's a tight corner coming up here where we've seen Chris throw an attack there. Does he do it here? Carter's been able to cover each and every time he's tried. And we've seen Carter play some defense on some of these climbs as well to try to position himself in front of Chris to ward off some of these attacks that Chris keeps throwing. And we'll see if we don't have another one coming up here shortly as they're going to start to punch up and climb up towards that Connex box and that unique over-under feature.
You talk about attrition. It's like how many of these blows can you absorb? Like how many do you have in you? I guess that's the question both these riders are asking themselves right now. Is
1 to go, gentlemen, 1 to go.
how many more shots like this can I take, or how many more do I have left in me to give? Chris using that speed gathered in those berms that just whip him around the corner and carrying every ounce of speed he can to get whatever advantage, forcing that second place rider to have to dig and put out so much power out of those corners and accelerate. That's the real sapping. That's really what drains it out of you, is having to cover those accelerations.
Yeah, we're going to get to a part of the course here where we've seen some of that acceleration happen, and haven't seen Chris race over the years. I think there's definitely another attack coming here at some point.
Oh,
He's not going to be comfortable to take this one to the line if he can avoid it. Starting to pick up the pace here.
He showed that all throughout the World Cup season last year. That late in the race burst of speed that he's able to do, cover 3 or 4 spots in a group, or just extend whatever lead he's got with a massive outburst.
This spot right here is one where he's put in an attack.
On cue.
Yeah, there you go. He's up and out of the saddle, picking up the pace. Carter Woods going with him. Chris definitely looking to be more comfortable out there as Carter doing everything he can to cover this attack by Chris.
Dude, not giving an inch either is he. Look at that. Just staying right, glued to that rear wheel.
Chris still on the attack, seeing if he can't do anything to create some separation between himself and Carter Woods. They're going to drop down here and make their way around. About a half lap of racing left in this Elite Men's competition. We're getting close to it. Chris carrying good speed. Yeah, carrying good speed right through there. Just comfortable at the front of this. And
that might have been the move right there. Again, on a downhill section, right? Gapping out, getting a little bit of space, getting a few bike lengths on a downhill section where he's able to carry that speed, turn it into an advantage.
Yeah, Chris definitely picking up the pace here, putting in a dig, putting in an attack, looks over and keeps going.
Attacking on the downhill part, that high cadence that he's known for. eking every ounce of power he can out of that machine.
Carter Woods trying to cover here as they're going to punch up towards the top here. They're going to go over a few little technical sections. Really the first separation we've seen in a little bit. Could come back together pretty easy though, as on some of the faster flowy section of the course. Go over some of these mandatory A-line gap jumps here and punch their way up to that Connex box and that over-under feature. Chris still on the gas. Look at this, just not giving Carter any chance to come around him whatsoever. Chris wants to be in the front of this bike race from here on out. Shoot through here. They got this little rock garden to make look easy one more time. Shot back at some of the chasers here. Chris airing it out over some of the new gap jumps that they put in over the off season. Jim, this one's staying pretty close together. If Carter can just hold on a little bit more, he's got, well, we got this final climb of the day. The Village Farms power climb coming up.
Yeah, can he survive that? Can he survive this explosion of power that Chris is going to put out?
If somehow Carter could get around just real quick and put himself in position to play a little defense, but I would not want to be second wheel for the final climb of the day.
Yeah. Look at the course designers, what they did right there. They made it so you can't just carry all kinds of speed right there. You got to navigate that little chicane and then accelerate. That's another burst of speed that Carter has to put out that Chris didn't. And now here comes that big attack that we were waiting for at the bottom of the Violich power climb. Chris Blevins now trying to just completely ride away from Carter, but Carter covering it so far.
Yeah, just a few bike links separating first from second after almost 7 full laps of what we've referred to as been a true heavyweight fight between Christopher Blevins and Carter Woods.
Been racing for an hour and 15 minutes right now, and it's all coming down to this final climb for the overall win here. Chris into that tight U-turn. Carter's still just a couple of bike lengths back, not giving any quarter to him at all yet. But there's not many places to pass left on this course, so Carter's got to get busy. He's got to stay right on that rear wheel and hope that he can get around him at some point in the final sprint.
Yeah, at this point, Carter's probably thinking if he could just stay with him and be right there with him as they bring it to the line, maybe he's got a better sprint in him. Don't know that to be the case because Chris definitely looks to be more comfortable out there on course today, as this is where Chris has been putting in attacks, and now he's on the front. He's up and out of the saddle. Carter going to try to cover here. See if he can't go with him, but look here, the gap already opening up, as this is what we expected here on the final lap. We saw this work for other riders on the day. Haley Batten and now teammate Christopher Blevins with Specialized Factory opening up the first gap we've seen on the final lap of the day.
First time he's been able to crack that armor, and now cresting the top of the hill, just about to roll over the top and then plunge back down here to the Expo.
Looks over his shoulder. Yeah, and that's the first true separation we've seen. Came with just about a quarter lap of a race left, as now Christopher Blevins all by himself on the screen.
A tactical masterpiece being played out here by Christopher. Really, really well done. Knew the part of the course that he could put the time in, executed it perfectly.
Chris continues to attack every chance he can. Going to carry speed now. Got a few more technical sections to navigate and get through there cleanly. Again, Chris, round one, it was a mechanical that ended his day in Fayetteville. Is pretty popular shot of him hiking his bike out of the woods, all smiles as he was. He knew that was just part of racing, but if he can get this one done and dusted, going to be pretty happy with the win here today at the Orange Seal Pro Cup.
Yeah, if he does, he'll go 2 for 2. Won that short track race yesterday and now looking in control as he's inside the last half a mile or so. Comfortable all day. Carter Woods comfortable all day as well, and they both put on a great show for us here today.
Yeah, I'd say you've got about 4-second gap now between first back to second. So separation is there. If Chris can maintain this lead, he's going to be able to roll it across the line and avoid that 2-up sprint situation.
Carter just driving on this descent, though, trying to get that gap back, get in that point of where he can contend in the sprint. If you've got anything, this is it. If he's got anything left, he's got to put it out there now. But it's going to be hard because there's so much start and stop here in these last little tight corners.
Here it is. They're just a few hundred yards away from rejoining us here at the finish line. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready. We're about to see leaders of our Elite Men's competition after over an hour and 15 minutes of racing on approach here to the finish line. Carter Woods trying to bridge back up, about 5 bike lengths separating Christopher Blevins from Carter Woods. It's Chris Blevins already on the gas, so Specialized going to lead him in. Carter Woods trying to cover, might run out of real estate. He is closing a little bit, but it's going to be Chris Blevins, Specialized Factory, getting it done, taking the win at the 2026 Orange Seal Pro Cup.
And if you saw that look on Christopher's face as he crossed the line, he looked a little surprised. He looked like he knew he had his hands full all the way to the end, and he did. That was a great, great two-man battle for the last 3.5 laps of this race.
Like you said, just an incredible, good comparison there. Analogy, a heavyweight fight, one for the ages there as Chris Blevins and Carter Woods battled it out for you, the fans. Thanks for tuning in on InsiderMTB.com. Get a look at the rest of our top 5 here. As Riley Amos having a good ride as he did go down in yesterday's short track, and we'll see if he isn't able to round out our top 3.
Both these guys completely gassed. They exchanged fist bumps there as they rolled across the line, and I think there's a massive amount of respect being shared there among these two super elite level riders. So great show they put on. And yeah, now Riley coming into view here. He's going to take P3 today, a very respectable effort for him, representing that Stars and Stripes jersey very well.
Current national champion going to be 3rd place on the day for the Orange Seal Pro Cup. And then how about Austin Beard? Going to find himself on the top 5. Great showing for Austin in that team segment 28. And then Devin Feehan, Dirt Camp Racing, getting it done. Going to be top 5 in our Elite Men's competition.
Devin seems pretty happy with that. That's something I've noticed, too, about this level of racers. That P4, P5 spot, those guys are pretty happy with that. I think they know that they've been in a cage fight all day, and they're going to take home that position and be very respectable with it. That's a lot of great effort there being put out, and a good show being put on here.
Finding the podium with the level of quality of competition here at the Orange Seal Pro Cup, everybody should be proud of that. Reminder, awards going to be coming up here at 3:30 for our Elite Men's podium. Going to be 3:30. Gentlemen, don't go far. We'll get podiums underway here in just a minute. How about Braden Johnson coming across the line for Allied Cycle Works? Going to be happy with that top 10 finish. Unofficially 6th place for Braden. Jim, we get to do this one more time today. Is the U23 men's going to be the final race on the schedule coming up at 4 p.m.
I got one more in me. How about you? This is going to be great.
Let's go.
Bring it on. Let's go.
Now we got Carson Beard now. Out of Durango, segment 28, finds himself in 7th unofficially. A couple more racers coming in. Jack Springer and Nicholas Konecki now coming across the line. How about my man Cole Patton rounding out our top 10 on that giant ride? Well done, Cole. Well, once again, we'll get podiums underway here in just a minute. We'll let this race wrap up, but don't go far. We'll run over there and get those podiums done as Dane Gray comes across the line. Part of that Bear Pro team. Get next race scheduled for 4 p.m. Going to be the final race on the day. And our U23 men take to this purpose-built Olympic